Hey, hi. Welcome to another video. I am Tavonastaro, and this is Saved and Manifesting, where I am a God's girl. I'm a girly girl. I'm a Christian girl who believes in manifesting the promises of God through Christ in me. So, yeah, we're going to get into all the things, okay? If you have not seen me before, hi, I'm T. I just love to be myself, but I also love to teach. I love a lot of things. I don't think I've ever gotten into like me on this channel, but yeah, I'm a God girl and a girl who believes that it is God's will to manifest his promises, his power, a lot of things. I believe that it is very much God to manifest. So saved and manifesting. And welcome back to another video. And so this week we're going to be talking about warring with prophecy. Okay. Now, in the manifestation community, prophecy really is not like a thing because for those who are, I want to say conscious, most people in the manifestation community don't come from a perspective of uh, believing in God, right? They believe in faith or the faith that it takes to um, manifest in the sense of not being swayed or wavering, not being distracted by your circumstances when it comes to manifesting. So, this topic is basically going to be my target audience is basically going to be the Christian audience, those who go to church, and go to church a lot, and you are familiar with the term prophecy. Um, this is for them, okay? And so for me, right, because it's saved and manifesting, I'm going to talk to regular people, who don't necessarily believe in God, but they believe in manifestation, right? But I'm also talking to Christians who believe in God, but don't necessarily believe in manifestation or are not convinced that manifestation is of God, right? And so I'm basically interchanging and not necessarily mixing, but definitely, I'm talking to the people in the manifestation community already know this stuff, but the church don't really see how manifestation has anything to do with God. But at the same time, Christians beg God to manifest his glory. So if it's wrong, then you need to not use the word manifest at all, right? But the word manifest is definitely in your Bible. So it can't be demonic if it's in your Bible, right? Or am I wrong? I don't know. But anyway, I like to show Christians like a parallel between, okay, what you're being taught and what manifestation is and how they are not that different. So this week I'm going to be talking to Christians. If you're not and you just want to listen, I mean you can, but it's not going to be like a church teaching. But for my focus, I'm speaking to those who believe in God, believe in prophecy and things like that. And I'm going to show like a parallel between really what to do with prophetic words. So I'm done blabbing. Let's get into it. So, anyway, in the church, right? Prophecy is when prophecy is a message from God. It's a word from God to a person through another person. Um, you can honestly receive a prophetic word through literature. You can receive a prophetic word through different types of media, but mainly when we talk about prophecy, we're talking about the prophetic, and we're talking about almost prediction of future things, present things, past things, but we're really talking about God expressing himself, expressing his mind, his plans um through a person or a source of media to another person. Okay. And so what the regular world or the church calls secular, what the regular world thinks is just prediction or psychic. um, is actually prophecy. It started as prophecy. That all comes from the prophetic, right? Um, and the prophetic is just, a person being separated and called by God to speak on his behalf to people who can't see him. Okay. So that's pretty much what the prophetic entails, the prophetic, or what a prophet entails. What the prophetic entails is just dreams, symbols, uh uh, it entails, it can be anything, can be prophetic, in nature though. It's very supernatural, spiritual, um, divine, in nature, but it definitely has to do with God, like conveying a message, through some source of media from him to a person or a people. Okay. I hope that makes sense. All right. So the Bible talks about warring with prophecy, okay? And if you grew up in church or you spent some time in church, when it comes to prophetic words, people get these words from other people. A person may come up to you in church and be like, I have a word for you. I hear God saying da da da. Or I feel like now prophecy is more mainstream than I remember it being. I feel like you can go on TikTok and you scroll, I guess, depending on what side of TikTok you're on, but people are always on TikTok prophesying. God said this, God said that, God said watch out for this, God said look out for that, God said this, God said that. Um, and no, I'm not gonna get into that, but if you have witnessed that, or you've run across it, or you have experienced it yourself, that is supposed to be like prophetic or prophecy, right? And so a lot of people get prophetic words and they don't necessarily, after you get the word and you hear the word, you feel good while you're hearing the word, but what do you do with that word? Okay. And um, if you are a Bible reader and a believer of the Bible does tell people or Christians what to do with prophecy. I know for me, years of being in church and being a prophet and being prophetic myself, um, there are where I think that I'm sorry, I'm looking for here we go. Um, oh wait. So I think that um there were no, I'll start here. Growing up, in church, and then when I got to like a prophetic church, where prophecy was normal, right? The norm. Um, Hearing like war with prophecy every once in a while, we were never really taught what to do with a prophetic word. You just receive the word, with faith. And then after that, like you just kind of cross your fingers, or if you live long enough, you are likely to see that prophetic word come to pass or manifest, right? And again, for context, the word manifest just means to make evident, okay? Um, but sometimes you get a prophetic word and you don't see it happen. And I think that that's a point of frustration for a lot of Christians. You get all these words and you sit up and you're like, okay, God, well, you said you were going to do this, you said you were going to do that, but where is it? And then after getting so many prophetic words, people they don't even want any more prophecy. Sorry, I'm looking for the scripture, y'all. They don't want any more prophetic words because they got like all of these prophetic words on the shelf, hypothetically speaking, that has not happened yet. Okay. And that is like a point of contention for like God, between God and a lot of Christians, even prayer, like, but that's a whole nother, topic. But there are Christians who, have renounced Christ today because they prayed and they didn't get an answer. So I'm I'm going to give practical steps on what to do when you receive, a prophetic word. Um, and it has a lot to do with, you know, there's a process between receiving the word and the word manifesting. And so a lot of people don't know what to do with that word. They just get the word, they receive it, and it's kind of like, okay, it's so weird. Like I remember receiving about where I live now. I was like, I was probably hmm. I remember I was like in my 20s. As soon as I got out of high school, I wanted to move. Why is it going so slow? I wanted to move on my own. And so I was about 17 when I graduated from high school, or with, thank you, First Timothy 1:18. According to what would the make it one First Timothy 1:18. I was like 17 when I got out of high school, and I always wanted my independence. I went to school downtown in Chicago for fashion, and I wanted to get a job, and I wanted to have my own place because I didn't want to. It was just me and my mom. I didn't want to be up under her my whole life, so I wanted to be independent. Um, I had gotten like a couple of words about an apartment, and I remember being like, "Well, how am I gonna get this apartment? Like, I ain't got no money. I could find a job. Y'all I tell you, I was struggling. I was struggling. But I could find a job. Like, it was just rough. And I just remember kind of going through life like, well, God, when am I gonna like? I remember the word, but I'm just kind of like, how am I gonna get like this apartment? I remember one year, one of my brothers prophesied to me, and he just more and more time went by. I started getting more and more details about this apartment. And I remember he prophesied like a condo loft thing. And he was like, God said, don't try to figure it out, but he'll like bring it to pass. And I'm like, I'm sick of hearing that, you know? So one prophet prophesied to me and she said, I see like a condo, like a loft. She said, and I see you on like the third or fourth floor. She said, and I see trees, like trees. And y'all, I didn't move into this place until I was last year, like 33. I was 32, and I remember at the time, I was living in New York, and I lived in like this little bitty room. I think it was like a pantry that he made into a room, but I lived in this little room, and I was traveling for work and everything. I spoke about this before in one of my other videos, how my 2023 manifestations or something. But um, I was just kind of like, okay, God, like this ain't it, right? So, um, I was just like, where's the place? Like I remember driving upstate New York, and I would just talk to God, like, God, why is it so hard for me to get an apartment? Like, that's like, why? Like, why all of these years? Like, why is it so hard to just get a place, like my own place? Like my own place to shower, a place to cook, like just my own space. Like I know what it's like to live from couch to floor. I know what it's like to live in a shelter. I know what it's like to live in a car, y'all. I'm telling you, I've been through it. Oh, like I know what it's like. And I would cry. I would drive upstate, drive back, and just talk to God like, Lord, I want this type of place, and just describe what I wanted. And it wasn't until I decided, you know what, I'm moving. I am going to move into my own place. And I thought about what I wanted. I wasn't like super detailed, um, but I thought about what it was that I wanted. And I started saying, God, thank you for my such and such. Thank you for my one bedroom, my studio. Thank you for my apartment. Thank you for a place to call my own. And even though I lived where I lived at that moment, every time I would go in the door, every time I would leave out, every time I would, even at night when I was sleeping on my air mattress, I would imagine myself being in this one bedroom. Um, I would just imagine like the kitchen appliances, and I would imagine what it felt like walking through the door. I would imagine the door, like I would just imagine all of these things. And the last thing that I said before I moved was all I wanted to do was move before my birthday. I remember somebody was like, well, what do you want for your birthday? And I was just like, look, at this point, the best gift for my birthday would just be my own place. Y'all, I moved into my place in June. My birthday was in August. So like it literally, I'm gonna tell you, it literally happened. And so there are like a lot of things that, there are things that have been prophesied to me that have just kind of occurred. And it wasn't until I moved in and I was like, oh my God, I think I wanted to be on like the first floor because I didn't want to have to deal with like stairs and things with groceries and laundry and all that kind of stuff. But and the place that I end up in is not even the place that they showed me. So I felt hoodwinked a little bit. But when I got in, I remember like I took this photo with like the keys and I remember saying, "Oh my God, this is the place. Like this is the place that Prophet so and so prophesied years ago." It's on the third floor and it's I have the best view, y'all. Like trees. I get to see the sunrise every morning. Like I have the best view. And outside my window ain't nothing but trees. Like and it's on the third floor. So shout out to Prophet Katara. Like she was dead on, right? She didn't miss. And it's very like, it's my spot. So and there were other things that were prophesied in my life that just I just kind of walked into and realized like, oh my God, this is God said that this would happen. So yeah, but to intentionally like manifest the promises of God, I'm gonna show you how today. Okay. So anyway, First Timothy 1 says 18. First Timothy 1 8. First Timothy chapter 1, verse 18 says, "This charge I commit unto the son Timothy." So the subject, the person that the scripture is talking to is Timothy. And I believe this is Paul talking to Timothy. Yeah, Paul. So Paul is talking to Timothy. Now, Timothy is like a spiritual son to Paul. Again, this is Christian lingo. If you are a Christian, you know what I mean, right? Um, Timothy is like Paul's disciple or his spiritual son. Okay. So he's saying, "This charge I commit to you," so he's charging Timothy, "according to the prophecies which went before on thee." So according to the prophecies that you received before, that you by them war a good warfare. And it says, "Holding faith and a good conscience, um, which some having put away concerning faith have made shipwreck." Or anyway, so he's telling Paul, he's giving Paul like a charge, right? He's encouraging Paul pretty much to on what to do with prophecies that he had received before that moment that he's encouraging him, right? And he's saying, war a good warfare with the prophecies. And so, what does that mean? That means take the prophetic words that you have and not war in the sense of like fight or like being attacked or like, but like work the prophecy. And if we're talking about fighting, it would be like fighting like the fight of like faith, okay? With the prophetic word. Okay, and so here's what you do. Here's how you do that. Here's how you war a good warfare with prophecy, right? Okay. So let's say God told you, I'm use something very practical, right? Let's say God gave you a word, right? You received a prophetic word or a message from God that you would move. Okay. Somebody comes to you and says, you're getting ready to move. God's going to give you a place, just prepare to move, right? Or let's say in your heart, right? You just feel like, I want to move. That can also be a nudge, right? That can be you, your spirit, letting you know what God wants to do for you, or what that's a desire that is just kind of telling you like it's time to just come up, right? This is for you. And that desire is just letting you know that this thing is yours, right? This is already yours. And you can tell that by desire. Okay. So let's say like you've always wanted, you don't know why, but you've always felt drawn to like living in a loft. Like I remember being a little girl. When I was younger, I always imagined myself having a whole lot of money. Um, and I always felt like I would be so rich that I would be able to live anywhere I wanted to live. uh, And I never, when I was little, I never dreamed of myself having a home. I always saw myself having like this very nice, like loft space that was like really cool, like very boho artistic, but it was like my home, like that's where I lived. Um, and so just growing up, like that never left me. Okay. So some things you just want, and then there are some things, some desires that you have that you just always had. Okay. And those things are the things, that's how you know something is for you. Okay. If you've had the same dream, the same desire since you were a child and it's never left you, no matter what you've been through, like that's the thing that's like for you. Okay. And so you have this desire to move or live into a particular place, right? Or you get a word. In this context, we're talking about prophecy. So you get a word that you know you're gonna move. Um, you're gonna move, right? So what you do is you go back when you receive the word, you cry, you wipe your face, you give God praise and all this. Now, the next day you wake up, you still where you live, whether that's on a bus stop, at your with your mama, at your grandma's house, you got a roommate situation, you live somewhere where you're tired of living and you want to move. And you remember God said that I'm gonna move, right? So at the point where you remember that God said you're gonna move, you remember that word, you take that word and you say, God, thank you for my new place. Thank you that I am moving. Thank you for my new place. Thank you that I am moving. Thank you for my new place. Thank you for my new place. If you don't want to say I am moving, you can say, God, thank you for my new place. God, thank you for my new place. Thank you for my new place. Every time you wake up where you are, you realize where you are, you know, you want to, it's been a month, right? And you're still living where you live, but you remember that word. Every time you think about that word, you want to say, thank you that I am moving to a new place. Don't worry about the details of how. If you don't have a dime to your name, don't worry about how. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about all of the logistics, right? Don't worry about everything you think you need, credit, none of that. What you want to do is focus on the word. And you want to take that word and you want to make it an affirmation. You want to start now to declare. Don't go to God asking God, you told me I would have, you told me I was going to move. God, I'm asking for my new place. No, he already told you that it's yours. So you don't have to ask. Now you just have to believe that what he said you would have, you already have it. And so the way to do that is through repetition. You want to continue to repeat in your mind that you already have this thing, because what it's going to do is tell the subconscious mind, oh, this is real. We already have this. This is already happening. Like, this is our reality now. You want to take that promise and you want to impress that in your subconscious mind as though it's already happening. Because again, right, this is science, right? This is scientific, because God and science are not apart from each other, right? God made science. And so because God made science, it's in your ability to use science um because God made it. You know? Like, it's science. This is how your brain works. So you're going to say, God, thank you for my new place. Thank you for my new place. God, thank you. Y'all, my lace. we not. We just not gonna talk about that on this side. We just not gonna do it. Anyway, you want to say thank you for my new place, right? So you're every day you think about, now you can do things as you feel inspired to, right? Because sometimes people, when it comes to manifestation, people say don't take action, take action. You can do what you want, but do what you feel like inspired to do. So if you want to look for places, then you go look for a place. And when you see a place that you like, or you see a place that you feel like may be the place, you go, that looks like somewhere I would like to live. Okay. You know, God, thank you for my new place. If that's the place that you want to live in, God, I think I want to live here. Let's say God gives you something, but if you want to be specific and ask for a specific place, then you can also do that, because the Bible says, whatsoever thing you desire, when you pray, believe that you have received them and it will be yours. Right? And God is able to do now unto him who is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that you can ask or think, according to the power that worketh in you. So the word is you're going to move, right? God can exceed and abound that. But your power is taking that word and repeating that word as though you already have what he promised you until you see it manifest, because it will manifest. It don't take 40 days of praying. It don't take 40 days of fasting. It doesn't. It literally takes you taking the promise, repeating it as though you already have it until you see it come to pass. If you don't want to physically repeat all day, thank you for my new place, thank you for my new place. When you think about the place, right? When you get ready to go into where you live now and you're like, oh, I gotta go back here again, right? Oh, these bad kids, or all they do is smoke and drink, like whatever the circumstances that is uncomfortable for you right now. When you think about it, think about your new place and say, thank you that I'm moving. Thank you that this won't be long. Thank you that I am moving into a new place. When you go to bed at night, imagine yourself in your new place. When you're taking a shower, imagine yourself in your new place. If you want to start packing, packing because you move it. Pack because you move it, right? That's what you do with prophecy. God promised you that money is coming to you. Somebody comes and say, you're about to come into some money. After that, you want to be like, thank you. Money is coming to me. Money falls in my lap. People always give me money. Money always finds me. What you don't want to do is go and take that word and look at your life and be like, how is that gonna happen? People don't give me nothing. Don't nobody owe me no money. I'm in debt. I owe everybody else. Like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to pay attention to the circumstances. You just want to focus on the end result. And the end result is this promise that you received. That's how you war with prophecy. Now, when it comes to affirmations, you can say them all day, you can say them physically, or you can just think in your mind what it is that God promised you. God promised me that I would be married. So I'm married. I'm already a wife. I am a wife. I'm in a loving, healthy marriage. I am in a loving, healthy marriage with this type of person. I'm already in a relationship. God told you was going to be a mother. I am a mother. And right now, you just had a miscarriage, or you are having trouble. You were just diagnosed with PCOS, and they're telling you there's no way you can have a baby. It's just not possible. But you received a word from God that you would be a mother. You know what you do with that word? You look at yourself in the mirror every morning and say, I am a mother. I have beautiful children. I'm a mother. I have beautiful children. I am a mother. I have beautiful children. I'm a mother. I am a mother. I am a mother. I'm a mother. I have beautiful children. And you say that until you see that, right? Because the scripture also talks about God, who is able to quicken the dead, right? Quicken things that are dead, and who also calls things that are not as though they were. And so the point of your practical way of seeing promises and prophecy come to pass is by professing the prophetic word as though it's already occurred, right? So you're struggling with school, but God told you that you was going to graduate because you're supposed to be a doctor. You got to get your doctorate degree. God told you to go back to school. So you take that word and you say, you know what? I already graduated. I'm going back to school and I'm going to get my doctorate degree, or whatever degree. I'm going back to school. I'm a straight A student, and I'm going to graduate with whatever. I'm going back to school in May. Well, I'm going to start the process in May. Whatever the next semester is, I am going back to school. I was in school when I moved to New York, and it got lost in the sauce like everything else. um, but now that I'm settled, I'm like, no, I'm gonna go back to school. Everybody's graduating, and I'm seeing all the cap and gowns, and I'm like, I'm too smart not to finish school. Like, I'm going back to school. I didn't go to God and say, Lord, I want to go back to school. No, God already told me. I got a prophetic word years ago, which is why I ended up back in school. God told me to go back to school and finish. And I was like, oh, and then my school closed. And then the school closed. And I'm like, why did you tell me to go back to school if you knew my school was going to close? I don't understand that. Like, please help me understand. Right. So what I did was I went back to school again. And I went to school online. And it was a great time. Like I was acing myself. I'm a really good student. Like I always pass. Like I was valedictorian in elementary school, probably because there's only two of us. But I'm really smart. Like I'm really capable of like being an honor student. Like I'm very bright. Um, but when I moved, like I said, everything got lost in the sauce, but I was already in school. And so now I'm like, I'm gonna go back to school. I'm gonna go back to school and I'm gonna get my degree. I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna graduate. I graduated high school. I graduated elementary school. It's only right that I graduate college. Like, just do it. Even if I get the degree and I don't do anything with the degree, I want to go back to school and graduate. And so I'm gonna go back to school and graduate. I'm gonna go to school with honors too. I'm gonna be top of my class. Watch me. And I'm gonna make a video on how I manifested going back to school and graduating top of my class. But you can do it. Like you just have to decide that the promise that you receive from God is already yours. It's already yours and it's already happening now. That's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is make affirmations based on the prophetic word that you have received, right? So, like I said, the prophetic word was God said go back to school. Okay, that's a decision. All right, I'm going to go back to school. Number one. Number two is when you go back in prayer, your prayer time with God, you want to say, God, thank you that I am going back to school. Thank you that I'm going to get my degree. Thank you that I am finishing school. And you want to keep doing that. You want to repeat that until three, you see the manifestation of the promise of God. That's how you war with prophecy. You take the prophetic word and you profess it, you speak about it, you talk about it, you repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it as though it's already happening, as though it's already yours, and you don't waver. Don't waver. Don't worry about what you see. Don't worry about the circumstances. So what? I don't have money to go back to school right now, but I'm going back to school. The money gonna come because I'm going back to school. That's it. Like I'm not worried about anything. I'm not worried about none of it. I'm not worried about the how. I'm not worried about the middle. I'm just focusing on what I want to do. My decision is to go back to school. So I'm going back to school. And everything is going to align with my decision to go back to school, right? God told me to go back to school. So I'm going back to school. God told me I'm a wife. So I'm not worried about, I don't worry about single women things because that don't have nothing to do with me. I'm not a single woman. I'm a wife. God told me I'm a wife. And so what I say is I'm a wife. God, thank you. I am a wife. I am a married woman. I live my life like a married woman. I identify as a married woman. God said, you a millionaire? God, thank you. I am a millionaire. And you want to identify with the promise as though it's already yours. You don't have to tell 1,000,001 people. You don't have to involve anyone. You don't have to involve anyone. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is focus on the promise. All you have to do is declare the promise. All you have to do is speak the promise as though it's happening right now and be faithful to that. That's what he means by war with prophecy. Be faithful, persist, endure, work the prophetic word by repeating it. If you don't want to say it out loud, if you want to script it as though it's already happened, you know what? Today I woke up in my new apartment. I love it. It's so peaceful, right? If you want to, um, if you want to go to bed imagining yourself in whatever the promise is, right? So you want to go to bed imagining yourself as a wife and imagining that you're in your bed with your husband, right? You want to go to bed feeling the ring on your finger. You want to go to bed imagining that, you just put your baby to sleep and you I don't know, your baby's in the bed on your chest because now you're a new mom, right? God promised you you'll be a new mom. If you in jail and you know, God give you a dream that you're gonna be free, you want to go to bed and imagine yourself out in the free world. Like I can come up with a billion like scenarios because nothing is exempt. Or if God promised you that somebody that you love would be out of jail, you want to go to bed and imagine that you're hugging them and you're saying, "Oh my God, I'm glad you're home." Like these are just practical things that you can do to manifest the prophetic word. A lot of people a lot of Christians, and I talked about this a little bit in my video, God versus manifestation. One of the things that I hear Christians argue the most about manifestation is that it's manipulation. How? Like, how is you taking the prophetic word and repeating that over and over again as though you already have it? That's faith. That's literally faith, right? That's faith. That's faith. That's just calling things that be not as though they were. And that's all in your scriptures. Who are you manipulating yourself? You are manipulating yourself to agree with God. How wrong could that be? Like, how wrong could that be? And then if you do that, then who put you up to it? God, because he gave you a promise. You know what I mean? Like, and this is another way to keep you from waiting. This is another way to keep you from being mad at God because you got this word and ain't nothing happened. This is how you work according to the power that God put in you. This is how you do that. And as you're saying, as you're thinking, because affirmations are just thinking, you're not doing anything to anybody. You're just in your head rehearsing the promise that God gave you. Who could that harm? Like the worst thing that can happen is you get what God said you would have. And then be on to the next thing. Like, who are you manipulating? You see? And this is how you end up robbed and mad at God because you're waiting on things to happen when you have a responsibility and it's not even a lot of work. It's just you think you're thinking anyway, but 9 times out of 10, you're thinking the worst. You're thinking, oh my God, God said I will move, but I ain't no money. All I make is this. I just lost my job. I just got laid off. How am I gonna move? I ain't got no money to move. Where am I gonna move to? I can't afford rent is this. How am I gonna move? Right? Like that's what you're thinking. So instead of thinking those thoughts that you've been thinking, you can start thinking, you know what? No, I'm moving. I already have the money. The money is just gonna find me. Like you could think those thoughts, like that's it. That's affirming. That's using affirmations intentionally until you see what God promised you. That's it. There's no harm to anybody. What's gonna happen is you're gonna get what God said you would have, and then you're just gonna run around the church. That's it. Like that's the only thing that's gonna happen. I give this example all the time. You know, I held on to that word for a long time that I would have my own place. And then I remember one year I went to New York and the word just got more and more specific. Um, and one word, I'm thinking that I'm putting all the pieces together, thinking that this is all like the same word, right? So, um, by the time I had actually moved, before moving, I was in New York City and these two pastors prophesied to me. And one of the things that the husband said was, he asked me where I lived at the moment. And he was like, God said, go east. He said, God said, go east. He said, you're not out of the danger zone just yet. And so I'm thinking he's talking about the east side of where I live. So I'm like, east side. So I'm looking at apartments on the east side and I'm like, God, I don't know. I don't know where you want me to be. Like, I really just don't know. It wasn't until one day, so I just kind of let the word go. I didn't let it go, but I didn't like bring it up. Like when I would spend time with God, I just started bringing it up. But it will always be in the back of my mind, like, okay, God said go east. Like, what's east? So I got tired of looking for apartments on the east side. And one day I just got up out the bed and I was just like, you know what, I'm moving. I looked around my room and I was like, I'm outgrowing this space. Like, I need to move. I said, okay. I got up out the bed and I started saying, I am moving. And I'm moving from this place into a new place by the summer months. Every time I would spend time in prayer, I would make sure I will walk the floors. I would just walk around in circles saying, I'm moving from this place to a new place. I'm moving from this place to a new place. In the summer, I'll be moving from this place to a new place. I repeat it every time, every time. And I remember I had this dream that I thought about. I went to New York again that year in like April. Um, and I came back home from New York and I remember this dream I had because I met someone that was the person in my dream. And so that led me to speaking to a dream interpreter. And I'm telling her the dream. She's interpreting the dream and she's like, where do you no, she said, are you moving? So I'm like, now she didn't know. She's like, are you moving? So I'm like, I was trying to move and I ain't got no money to move. She was like, well, God said go east, like New York. Thinking she didn't know anything, just for skeptics, right? She had no idea. She didn't know nothing. All she knew was the dream I had. And I didn't even give her no backdrop, no context, no nothing. I just told her the dream. Um, she was like, God said go east, like New York. And I'm thinking, no, I just told you I had no money. So why are you telling me God is saying go to New York? And I just said I had no money to move. So I'm like, no. But it made so much sense. So she's prophesying and she's like, yeah, God said go east. And I'm like, after that, I was blue. I'm like, God, what are you talking about? Like, east side, the East Coast, right? And so I was like, okay, you know what? Whatever happens, happens. I said, I'm gonna call my job and I'm gonna tell them that I'm moving. I'm moving to New York. And if my job transfers, then I'm just gonna go. I told my supervisor, found a place in New York, and she was like, okay, well, just send me the address for transfer papers, like, and you'll be good to go. Y'all, I was like, oh God, I gotta move, right? And then it turned out that my mom ended up moving. So I really didn't have like an option. Like I had to move. Um, and I set a date and it was like the end of July because I didn't want to be going to New York in the wintertime. I hate moving, first of all. But I was like, it won't be ideal to move in the winter. So I need to set like a date. So I set the date for July 29th. And I was like, no matter what happens, I am moving like the 27th. No matter what happens, I am going to go to New York. I drove to New York, y'all. And not only did I end up moving to a new place in the summer, okay, because I was upstate in New York celebrating my 32nd birthday in Rochester, New York. So I was in New York. It happened. Not only did I end up moving in the summer months to a new place, like I had said, like I decided that I would, but I ended up moving on the east side, the East Coast. So when God said go east, he was talking about the East Coast. I thought that he was talking about the east side, like, but what I did with that word was I kept saying, I decided to move based off of just a desire to move, but also God had already promised me that I would have my own. Now I did go to New York and I did end up living on my own, but I ended up coming back home and I still end up having my own. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what you do with prophecy. You decide that you will have what God promised you. Okay. And you get up and you take that prophetic word and you pray that word. God, thank you that I already have it. Thank you that this is mine. Thank you that I am a homeowner. Thank you that I am a successful business owner. My business is booming. Thank you that I am moving. I'm moving and I love my new place. God, thank you for my new place. When I got tired of living in that pantry, I was like, God, thank you for my new place. When I was tired of my job position, I was like, God, thank you for my new position. Thank you. That's all I said. And all of these things started manifesting back to back to back. That's how you take the prophetic word and you war with prophecy. So, again, let's go over the steps, right? You have a promise from God. You decide that you're going to have this promise from God. You decide this is mine. This promise from God is mine. Two, you take that promise and you make affirmations, which are just statements or thoughts based on that promise. Okay. So God said you will be healed. The affirmations are I am healed. God said you're going to be a successful business owner. The affirmation is I am a successful business owner. And you want to repeat that over and over again. If you want to do it 10 minutes a day, do that. If you have if you have time set where you pray, then do your prayer, but spend some time repeating that affirmation. God, thank you that I have this. Thank you that I am this. Thank you. Thank you that I am this. Thank you that I am this. Repeat it. And the third thing is you want to keep repeating. You want to keep repeating that until it manifests. The fourth thing is you want to not pay attention, right? Do not be distracted. That's what I want to say. Don't be distracted by the circumstances because what's going to happen is all of the circumstances are going to align. They're going to just naturally align to where you have what God said that you were supposed to have. Everything. Like there's just going to be a natural bridge of events that are going to occur to bring that promise into manifestation. It's going to be so effortless that you won't have to do anything. Like everything is going to move to manifest what God promised you, period. Like all of it is just going to masterfully come together. And you'll look up and be like, oh my God, it happened, right? That's it. Like you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is have the faith to believe that if I continue to repeat what God promised me, like I already have it, I'm gonna have it. And that's it. It don't have to take long, it ain't a long process. Like I said, it don't involve 50 days of praying and fasting. You don't need like a whole prayer team. You don't. All you have to do is decide that is yours and do those steps, and it will be yours. This video was a little longer than I wanted it to be, but I think that I made it practical enough for everybody to understand whether you believe in God or not. But this was for those who do. So I'm really happy about it. And yeah, if you want to leave a comment telling me how it went, you can. If you want an affirmation list from me, you can email me. I can send you an affirmation list for $10. Um, and that's it. So congratulations. All right. And I'll see you in the next video.